But you always talk about the difference between like authority and control, or like authority and government, and how authority is sort of voluntarily assented to. And it's something I was just putting some thought into and wanted to talk to you about today.
Yeah, do you have any initial thoughts, or do you want me to expand upon kind of my ideas first? And then
Why don't you go first?
Okay, yeah, so I don't know where I started contemplating that, but yeah, I would say right now, if you ask me about it, I believe there's a major difference between authority and power, where power is coercion. Power is a gun to your head, you must do X.
Yeah.
You have no choice to exit it, and it is antithetical to freedom. There's no such thing. Authority is something that restrains you, and restrains how you can act, but it is voluntary in a way. Like, you can exit that authority at any time, but you voluntarily choose, or it's somehow over your life. And sometimes it can become oppressive. Yeah. So I will leave that caveat, which is interesting. We can get into that nerdy debate of like where I actually think the state should come in. But so for me, like, types of authority is like my job. Like, I work certain hours, I'm attentive to certain things, I will behave a certain way because of this contract I signed with the company. And because of that, I want them to pay me. I'm willing to surrender some of my freedom.
Right.
My marriage is an authority over me.
Yeah.
I am not going to sleep around. I am not going to see other women. I am committed solely to my wife. Now, I could exit that at any time. Only the state could come in and put a gun to my head, I guess.
Yeah.
And say I have to stay married to my wife. But I have voluntarily chosen to submit myself to her, to the authority of this institution, and to her in a way. She's an authority, so I've restricted my freedom.
Yeah.
But I would say the true definition of liberty is there must be restraint for you truly to have liberty. I would stand by that statement.
Or there must be the option for restraint at least.
Yes.
I think there's some people who, have this idea that anything that restricts your freedom is bad, and that you should always just be free to do whatever you want at any time and be completely libertine and all these things. And I never have agreed with that. And I agree with what you're saying about submitting voluntarily to authority. And like the example I was thinking of when I was thinking about this last week was your family, because like you have lots of children and you have a wife, and it means like you can't do certain things that other people can do. Like we were talking about traveling to Europe and stuff, and it's going to be harder for you to travel the world than it would be for someone who's single, because it's going to be expensive and difficult to cart those children around. But that's like a voluntary restriction on your freedom that you've imposed upon yourself because you value something else more. And I think that's great. And I think that gives life meaning and gives you purpose, and it's good. But then on the other hand, you have people who voluntarily surrender their freedom for less noble reasons, maybe to escape responsibility rather than to incur responsibility. So you voluntarily surrendered your freedom to incur responsibility, and as have I for like my job as well. Is a good point. Job is a good example of that. You sign a contract where you can't do whatever you want all the time because you want some kind of responsibility. Good. But then you have people who, like maybe they get arrested or go to prison or something, or they get put into a hospital, or they get put into a mental asylum or something. And they do this voluntarily because they can't deal with the pressures of responsibility of life, and they don't want to have to make decisions for themselves. And they want to be told what to do all the time and say, okay, it's not on me. Whatever I do in a day, someone else decides that. I just do it, and I don't have to like have the stress of responsibility, because whatever happens is not my fault then. And that seems to be a very negative way of surrendering your freedom, a very unhealthy way of surrendering your freedom. And so I was trying to kind of reconcile those two things in my mind, of surrendering your freedom to gain more responsibility versus to surrendering your freedom to escape responsibility.